Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. It's 88 miles long and weaves through 8 towns in northwestern Vermont. It also meanders into the province of Quebec for about 15 miles, where it is called the Rivière Missisquoi. On this side of the border, we call it the Missisquoi River. For the past 25 years, the Missisquoi River Basin Association has worked on a range of projects and provided educational outreach, all in an effort to improve water quality and restore habitat to the river basin. To learn more about the association's work and to highlight its upcoming 25th anniversary celebration, I'm joined by 2 guests. Lindsay White is the association's executive director, and alongside Lindsay is Community Relations Coordinator Karina King. Good afternoon to each of you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Fran.
So we're going to start with a map so we're all aware of what we are talking about. And so Lindsay, let me ask you to tell us a little bit more about the Missisquoi River and its basin.
Great. Yes, Fran, as you mentioned, the river flows through several of our northern Vermont towns, but the basin itself encompasses parts of at least 23 towns, at least parts of 23 towns. And all of the water that falls in that whole basin ends up in the Missisquoi River and flows down to Lake Champlain. So it's about 1,200 square miles in both Canada and the US. We have a little over half of that in the US. And the work that we do really impacts all of that land mass, all of the streams and rivers that flow together to make this watershed and all of the land uses upon that.
So when you say we, who is the Missisquoi River Basin Association?
We are a volunteer-led organization. As you mentioned, we've been around for over 25 years, and some of our amazing board members have been involved that entire time. We also have a slew of wonderful volunteers and groups that work with us to collect water samples, plant trees, and bring together all of our community members with the same goal of making sure that our water is in good shape and that we can continue to enjoy it for generations.
Okay, so talk about some of those land use issues that have impacted the Missisquoi River and the bay for actually the past few centuries.
Sure. We, of course, share all of Vermont's history. So we have the cleared forest issues that really got rid of all of our trees. And so we didn't have those tree roots that were holding the soil in place. We have that wonderful history of log drives. You can still see some evidence of that along the Missisquoi. Those big log drives impacted our riverbanks. And then we have, the high application of nutrients that we need to grow all of the wonderful things that we grow in our watershed. But with our high rain events that we're getting more and more, there's a lot more erosion happening. And all of those nutrients are going into our waterways and into our lake.
Right.
More modern issues that I think Karina's going to touch on.
Okay, Karina, talk to us about some of those more current issues.
Yeah, most currently we're having some issues with invasive species taking hold, and they're pushing out native species, and they're actually changing the soil chemistry. We have remnants of mine tailings that are impacting our waterways. We have water temperature that is changing due to lack of riparian buffers, changing the course of the river, and then on top of that, climate change is having an impact. And then we're seeing residual efforts from sodium chloride applications, or road salt, is causing changes in water chemistry on our rivers.
So what kinds of projects does the Missisquoi River Basin Association get involved in to start dealing with some of this stuff, Lindsay?
We are funded by grants and donations. So we work on a voluntary basis, but we work with our towns and our community members to do lots and lots of different types of projects with our towns. We focus on roadside ditches or culvert work, both for infrastructure concerns, but for water quality and fish passage as well. With our landowners, we love to work with landowners on small and large scales to figure out how we can improve stormwater movement across the landscape, and also to plant trees along any waterways that don't have enough of a riparian buffer. Those trees are really going to help cool down the temperatures so we have good fish habitat and also hold all that soil in place. We also have great volunteer programs. We collect water samples throughout the watershed. We have a long history of that, and we love doing river cleanups and getting trash and tires out of the river.
Right, that very important piece of this. You also do educational outreach. It involves area schools. How are you engaging Vermont students?
we love to do our river cleanups and our tree plantings with our students, but we also love to go into the classroom or at our community events to provide programs that are engaging and get people thinking about the rivers in new ways. Our board president created our Bugworks program about 15 years ago, and we've been providing it to schools free of charge ever since. We get an educator to come in and teach kids about the bugs that live in the river and also how that has an impact on our entire ecosystem. And then we also have a wonderful rainfall simulator that helps us talk about soil health and the importance of how our land use is also impacting our water quality. And we're going to be participating with that in a wonderful collaborative educational program later this month called Lake Lessons. It's down at St. Albans Bay Park. And we've got wonderful community partners and state partners coming together to provide full morning educational programming for area schools.
Great, and even, you know, just the whole idea of what is a watershed and what happens when it rains, and it's such a long and interesting river. So clearly you have this educational side of things, and Karina, you know, let's get into more depth about some of the activities outside the classroom. What do you focus on?
Well, the MRBA loves to do, of course, the river cleanups, and then we take care of invasive species, removing them from property. We do tree plantings to help restore the riparian buffers. In fact, since 1997, we've planted over 25,000 trees on over 190 acres, and that's a milestone, and we keep growing that. There's so many projects, from water sampling to just talking to the general public about what they can do on their own property.
Well, you know, it's so interesting to me also that during log drives and other things, they actually changed the river, and you talked about changing so what is there anything you can do about that, about changing the direction that the river goes if you're doing plantings, or are you aware of that as you do the plantings? Obviously, you must be.
Yes, we're aware of that. And there's so many things that you can do on the shoreline to stabilize the bank. We want to make sure that we are putting in stakes to keep the bank natural, putting in deep roots of native species that are going to hold the soil in place, not lining the bank with riprap, because that just makes the river want to pick up more sediment in another area. And there's just keeping it natural, not making it a nice straight river. We don't want that.
Yeah.
We want it to meander naturally.
Right. So as we've mentioned, it is your 25th year. Congratulations. What are some of the association's key accomplishments over the past quarter century, Lindsay?
Well, as Karina mentioned, we've planted over 25,000 trees. We're really proud of that. Along those riverbanks, that's about around 200 acres that we've reforested. We also, it was MRBA led that we received the first National Wild and Scenic River designation in the state of Vermont. So we are part of that national system. 46 miles of our rivers are within that system. And we receive both support from the federal government in technical support through the National Park Service and financial support. So dollars that we can spend improving those 46 miles of our river. Those partnerships, like we have with the National Park Service, like we have with our Wild and Scenic Committee, are a key accomplishment. We have wonderful partners throughout the state and in our local regions in both Franklin and Orleans County, where we work really well towards the common goal of making sure that our waters stay nice and clean and healthy, and that all of our landowners and our community members are engaged in that effort.
Right. I'm sure you're incredibly invaluable to all of these partnerships that you're a part of, all your volunteers. And you have a special event coming up on October 1st to celebrate the 25th anniversary. So, Karina, tell us, what are you doing for that?
We have a special night planned. We are having food, live music, so much entertainment and fun, and we're having a guest speaker, Carrie Thomas from the Northern Forest Canoeist Trail. And it's just going to be an amazing night, celebrating our successes, celebrating our partnerships, and drawing everybody in.
So the public is invited to come learn about your work and to help you celebrate. So where can folks get tickets, find out where it is, how much does it cost? Give us some details.
No problem. The event is going to be taking place October 1st, and it is a fundraising event, so people can help support the organization and all our work we do. You can get the tickets at our website, which is mrbavt.com, and they are going for $65 a piece.
Okay, awesome. And I imagine you're also looking for volunteers, probably on a constant basis, and maybe at this. How challenging has it been to recruit volunteers for your association?
It's actually been really fun to see people get more engaged locally. I think that's one of the benefits of the pandemic, if we can say benefits. People are thinking about their local landscape and figuring out ways that they can help out. So we've had folks engage in our swimming hole cleanup efforts. We have folks that were helping us just sort of identify new emerging patches of the invasive species knotweed. And it's been really fun to with people who are saying, "Oh, I used to travel outside of the state, and now I'm really looking for ways that I can improve my local area and make sure that I can enjoy it for my vacations."
Great. And Karina, what would you say to encourage more volunteers? I mean, are you getting families, young people, the whole gamut?
It ranges depending on the program that we're working on. And to encourage people, it's just a way to give back and help out. It's a short-term projects that we have, or you can do long-term ones with water sampling, or even our upcoming one where we're looking for people who want to have more trees on their property, that we're more than willing to come out and buffer your stream. And people feel just vested efforts and getting involved and helping out around the community. Our community is so dedicated and supportive, and it's just a great way to give back, is to help out on your own land or somebody else's.
So just quickly, water sampling, how much does that take of your time? Is that once a month, once a week that somebody might do that?
So we've had a variety of water sampling programs that we dive into, and we do have some that are monthly samplings, and we have some that are bi-weekly. We have some that we would love to get volunteers who have a little more flexibility in their schedule and can just go out and collect samples when there is rainfall. But we really can do an a la carte volunteer program. If you're interested in volunteer time, we can use you for a day or on a regular schedule, or you can join our board and become a board member.
There you go. Lindsay and Karina, thank you so much. The Missisquoi River Basin Association, MRBAVT.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you.
And once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.